Ooh, Seattle Seahawks getting the last place pick from Nick Wright in the NFC West. I love to see it. I love to see it. All of them are picking the Seattle Seahawks to be last because they all just think Sam Darnold's not good. Nick said in this segment, and I wish I could play it for you, but there's too much music, so unfortunately I can't. But that going from Geno Smith to Sam Darnold was a huge mistake. And yeah, Sam Darnold and Clint Kubiak are going to have a lot of success. They're going to have a lot of success. And this defense should be great. This defense should be legit. Okay? And you combine that now with what I think will be a much better coached offense with a quarterback who I think it will be a lot more simple and straightforward to work with a younger coordinator. I think you're set up to have a lot of success here. I understand that there's going to be some questions about the O-line and some of the other offensive pieces, which is fair. I totally hear that. I really do. But just go back and see what we saw with Kubiak and Derek Carr. That was on pace to being something special. And it wasn't fluky. I watched those games. I watched how those games unfolded. I saw how incredibly comfortable Derek Carr was. And there's a lot of, in the loosest sense of this, there's a lot of similarities with Sam Darnold and Derek Carr. And I just feel as though that a transition with Clint Kubiak to Sam Darnold is going to be a lot more straightforward. I think, I always use this kind of metaphor about speaking the same language. And I think they're going to speak a lot of the same language to each other. And that bodes incredibly well for this offense. And so I believe that this offense can take a legitimate step forward. And this defense, where you have a great defensive head coach who's going to continue to evolve this defense and get better and better. Remember, even last year, this team had a lot of momentum. The momentum was inhibited. It could have had a lot of momentum, but then you did deal with a lot of injuries, especially defensively, which then kind of just, things just kind of, you aren't quite able to put it all together when it mattered most, which is fine, which is totally fair. And when you were going up against a more high-powered offense like the Detroit Lions, like you could see why, right? You could see how that defense just didn't have it in those moments. And that's fine. And the offense wasn't then good enough to kind of keep up. They just weren't. And, even though that game ended up getting a little bit closer down the stretch, it wasn't exactly a close game, although it could have weirdly become a close game, right? If you did have a little bit of help and support from Geno. I forget the exact play, but there was a big play that Geno made a great play, but then I think it was a drop pass for a first down that really could have changed the flow of that game down the stretch, and it just didn't happen. But I think you're going to get actually a tremendous amount of leadership and stabilization with a quarterback like Sam Darnold and a Clint Kubiak offense who I think is going to bring a lot of juice here and much needed. And I have incredible levels of confidence for this defense and the culture and just how well it's run. I mean, look what Macdonald was able to do with the Baltimore Ravens. Now, Harbaugh is an interesting head coach because he's both defensive minded, but also a little bit more of a walk around coach than I think people kind of understand. So I think like it's not exactly 100% clear, but to me, what is clear when you see what Macdonald has been able to do when he goes to the Ravens and then you see him leave the Ravens and you see that defense take a step back and you see him now come to Seattle, and when he gets when he starts to get the personnel that he needs, or when he does have them, whether it's just, snapshots throughout the season with regards to health, what he's able to do and execute, it's just a matter of time that you have enough foundational pieces that this defense now becomes, like I always talk about, suffocating, that it's just like, oh man, this defense is just going to be great, highly communicative, physical, tough, smart, aggressive, right? Like just all the boxes checked. And that's you're on that timeline now. You're taking those steps. And then again, when I think Clint Kubiak was a awesome hire. So then when you take care of the other side of the ball and you have a Sam Darnold, like, yeah, the rest really is can the weapon step up, and can the O-line, doesn't have to be a brick wall, but can it just be good enough? Can it just be good enough? And I'm excited. I'm excited to find out. I mean, here you have what they were last year, okay? Their offense, pretty stagnant at times. And Geno Smith, again, to be fair, I think did the best that he could. So I don't necessarily put that on Geno Smith by no means. And then you have the defense, which was, giving up 21.6 points. I could easily see this defense now being under 20 points per game, which in football terms, that is massive, right? It's weird how just a point makes, honestly, a massive difference. I think offensively, you're going to take care of the ball so much better. The Seahawks were top 8 in turnovers last year. I think that absolutely gets slashed. Which then takes off a lot of pressure on the defense. Just by that alone, you're going to get an elevated defense. So I'm incredibly high on the Seattle Seahawks. I think, at this point, to keep trying to favor a team like the Cardinals over the Seahawks, like, I'm just like, I just don't see it. And although I believe in the Rams offense more than I would believe in the Seahawks offense, if Matthew Stafford is a little banged up throughout this season, and if that O-line takes any issues, any type of injuries like they've had in years past, pretty much every single year since Stafford's been there, I just think that the defense for the Seahawks at this point has the potential to be great enough where if there's any liabilities, if there's any issues on an offense, whether it's with the Cardinals and Kyler Murray, whether it's Brock Purdy and the 49ers who are already dealing with injured offensive weapons, and the Rams who are dealing with, how healthy is Stafford right now, I just believe that the Seahawks defensively will be well coached enough to take advantage of that. Now, do they have enough offensive firepower to take advantage of it as well? That remains to be seen. I always talk about how certain teams, if they're well coached enough and they're great enough, that all they need is the tiniest margin, that they just need the littlest advantage. That's all it takes. And a great coach, a great team, whatever it may be, will be able to exploit that, no problems. And I do believe defensively, I have that confidence in the Seattle Seahawks just because of, again, how well it's coached, the continuity of coaching, and just what that roster should look like this year. And you're going up against 3 offenses that are hardly bunned. I mean, like, sounds to me like Shanahan's already trying to be like, yeah, this has been tough offensively right now. This is clearly not ideal. And Matthew Stafford, again, and the Rams, who I really do believe in tremendously, but if Stafford is legitimately laboring, and he's 37 years old at this point, like, if there's some of those issues, like, and Puka Nacua can't stay healthy, again, it's just, the door's wide open. There's doors just wide open to get after it. To me, it's more, how resilient can that offense be? How resilient and opportunistic can that offense be as well, in terms of if they're going up against a slower, less physical defense, do they get after it? Or if they are forced to be in a shootout and they need to really elevate their offense, can they keep up? Those questions still need to be answered because it is year 1 with Clint Kubiak and Sam Darnold, and I have confidence in them and believe in them, but I have way more confidence in the defense because I've seen that before, right? I've seen that before, and I don't really need to take any extra steps to predict that or to have any sense of confidence behind that. And so that alone, though, I think can go a long way. And so it's just like, I think as long as the defense is great for the Seattle Seahawks and the offense is competent, and not turning the ball over and putting extra pressure on that defense, even if you don't believe in the weapons in the O-line and whatever it may be for the Seattle Seahawks, which I still think is probably overstated. I just think that you're in a position to still have a tremendous amount of success. So the Seahawks are definitely a team that are being very much underrated, which I find interesting because things were hardly a straight line for them last year, and yet they still were able to compete. I mean, like, they were still kind of right there in the hunt, in the mix, and I just feel as though they got better on both sides of the ball. And I think an elevation with coaching too. Like, I'm pretty high on Clint Kubiak, probably more than other people, but just me. I said this before in a previous Seattle Seahawks video. Like, Clint Kubiak, his stock shot through the roof when he was first with the Saints, okay? And it was just like, oh my goodness. Then they got decimated with injuries. And when that happens, it's like everyone, you always have to blame someone. And so they're just like, all right, Clint, get out of here. And it's just like, when that offense was healthy, he had that offense rolling. Absolutely rolling. And Derek Carr was set up to be like, and Derek Carr looked so unbelievably comfortable. So unbelievably comfortable that you're just like, my goodness. This is, I mean, like, it was awesome. Like I said, I watched all those games before they got decimated with injuries, and it was just like, this offense is unbelievable. I was like, this is great. I was like, this is exactly what you could ever ask for from an offense. So that's why I'm just so excited to see what Sam Darnold and Clint Kubiak can do together. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about the Seattle Seahawks being last place in the NFC West and far, far, far from contending to be in the playoffs? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me. Either way, let's get in some discussions, let's get in some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all generally feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.